Welcome, Aquarius, to your July 2023 ethics reading, brought to you by Daniel Natal at Actionable Ethics. Ethics readings are a little different than the classical astrological reading because they are a composite of four different kind of personality taxonomies. One is astrology, and I do use Aquarius as kind of shorthand for a basic astrological type. I do believe that there's 12 basic types. As attested by, 12 members of a jury, 12 apostles, the 12 zodiacal types in, kind of Chinese astrology, Western astrology, Indian astrology. There's also things like the disc system, which has 12 basic personality types. There's also things like the Myers-Briggs system, in which you guys would be the closest to the INTP types. The INTP stands for introverted, intuitive thinking and perceiving. And like INTPs, you guys are deep thinkers who show non-traditional inclinations. Both Aquarius and INTP personalities wish to follow their own individual path, right? And they are often suspicious of people who enjoy doing things conventionally. You guys are very sharp, and you're always kind of looking at things from a new direction, a new poetic angle. You have great creativity, so this is why it's kind of important to understand these things. There's a philosopher named Heraclitus, and Heraclitus in antiquity, he said, "Character is destiny." Right? So people tend to behave in behavioral patterns that repeat in cycles. Like there are 7-year cycles, that are very common in people's lives. And for instance, if a young woman has a dad who's an alcoholic, she might marry an alcoholic 7 years later. 7 years after that, she's divorced. 7 years after that, she's marrying another guy who turns out to be alcoholic. And she keeps repeating these same familiar patterns because they're what was comfortable to her. Even though it wasn't ideal, it was something that she knew and understood. And so she was subconsciously repeating these patterns, was part of her character, and until she understands her character, until she understands her basic personality inclinations, she is going to, kind of repeat these things on autopilot and not lead the fulfilling life that she might otherwise want to lead. And that brings us to the importance of truth. If you'll notice back there, there's my logo, and it's made of an A and an E for actionable ethics. But it's also based on a pyramid that Plato describes in the Republic. And he talks about there being personality types in a society. And at the bottom tier of society, he says, is senses-based people. And these might be at their extremity. Unfortunately, people addicted to sensory stimulation, and it might lead to gluttony, or it might culminate in things like sex addiction, narcotics, that kind of stuff. In the middle part of a society are the honor-based people. And these are going to be people like police officers, cops, or cops are police officers, soldiers, politicians, people who crave honor. And at the top are truth-based people. And these are going to be philosophers, scientists, and so forth. Aquarians are natural truth-based people. So you guys are always kind of like looking toward that, and it's very important that you stay true to that. That being said, I am an intuitive person, and I do believe that the universe does give us messages. So I have things called ethics cards, and these are not like tarot cards in the sense that that there's any kind of mumbo jumbo associated with them, and I'm not qualified to do anything like that. But I do believe in bibliomancy. Bibliomancy basically is like where somebody opens a book, like say for instance the Bible, and they'll see like a passage in that book, and they'll point at it at random, and they'll derive great meaning from an excerpt that they see there. And this is of great antiquity. The Romans did it with the Aeneid, right? That was the book that Virgil wrote about their legendary founder Aeneas. And they would open that book, they would point a finger, they would derive a message there. The government does this with military remote viewers, so-called psychic spies. They'll give them tasks based on a random number generator. And so I am going to take 3 cards at random, and I'm going to see if the universe has any kind of messages to you this month. Some of the themes this month, by the way, in terms of astrology, would be the subconscious for you, like exploring metaphysics, spirituality, that kind of stuff, as well as spiritual renewal, healing from old wounds and stuff. So let's see. Anaïs, the writer, says, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Right? And this might be about healing. This might be a message to you about that. Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage, right? So do you, kind of hide in a cave because the world has hurt you, has wounded you, and you're seeking kind of protection. And so you're kind of like hiding like that. Another message to you is the test of moral ideas is moral results. And that's actually good too. Like the Greeks have a concept called the telos. The telos means the end goal of something. The end goal of a refrigerator is to keep your food cold. The end goal of a toaster is to brown your bread. If a refrigerator doesn't keep your food cold or a toaster doesn't brown your bread, then these are bad appliances, right? So likewise, your life has a telos, right? Somebody's telos might be to be a doctor. Somebody's telos might be to be a housewife or a dancer, a great artist, a plumber. And if you fulfill that telos, you're happy. If you don't get to fulfill that telos, you become a very thwarted, frustrated, angry person. And unfortunately, we live in a society where people aren't encouraged to pursue their telos. They're kind of just left to float. And if you float, you get preyed on. You just become somebody to fleece, to steal your money. And that's kind of why society has whole cottage industries based on making sure that you're a floater and that you're not directed toward a telos. Ethics is about self-direction, right? About you being inwardly directed, you being pursuing, your ideals and doing it as freely as possible. Addictions is an example. Epictetus says that. He says that anybody who's slave to an addiction remains a slave, right? So that's what ethics is about. It's not just about moralizing and waving your fingers at people to feel like virtuous, but it's about you being a free person, Anyway, and speak of the devil, Epictetus is here. If you inquire of me, what is man's good? I can give you no other answer than that it is a kind of moral purpose, right? So let me read that because I botched that. If you inquire of me, what is man's good? I can give you no other answer than that it is a kind of moral purpose, right? So if you have a moral purpose, this makes you kind of like a worthy person. You're not just a floater. There's a book from 1830 called Principles of Geology by Charles Lyell. And Charles Lyell says that man's advent in the fossil record did not represent any kind of revolution in terms of physicality, because animals had hair, animals had skin, animals had blood. Man wasn't different in that sense. He said what made man revolutionary was the fact that he had moral purpose, right? He could make choices, right? Unlike a dinosaur, unlike a rock or a plant, suddenly you have moral purpose, the idea of moral purpose. And individuals also, not just the species, but you too have moral purpose. And you have to find that this month. That's one of the themes. So if you would like to help me in my ethics work, feel free to check out my ethics courses down below. Otherwise, I'll have to go back to selling my merch like the doomed Daniel Natal in action figure. See Daniel as he engages in an action as he surfs the web, or engages in an action as he watches TV. Even worse was the Daniel Natal Pez dispenser. That was a pretty bad seller, but it did do better than the Daniel Natal urinal cake. These are all horrible merch ideas. But if you want to help support me, as I said, hit the like and subscribe button down below. And you can set up a Zoom call with me if you would like to talk to me on a one-to-one basis. And we can hash out any, thorny moral dilemmas that you might be facing. And I will see you next time, and have a great month of July. And I think that great things are meant to happen for you.
The world is suffering from a moral decline. We've been lurching from one crisis after another due to a lack of ethics in society. You can do your part now by considering ordering my Ethics Fundamentals courses for your children, or if you're a small business owner, using them as part of your onboarding process for new employees. Employees these days have horrible soft skills. Help them out by teaching them ethics. Businesses lose 7% in revenue due to employee theft. Train a more ethical workforce and save some of that money. According to the Ethics Center in Australia, a 10% increase in ethical behavior is associated with an increase of 2.7 to 6.6% in individual wages. Implementing ethical structures makes your company more investable as well. Make ethics a part of your business processes, or if you're a parent, part of your homeschooling curriculum. Go to www.actionableethics.com and press the button to order the course. Actionableethics.com. Order now.